Well, another day, another episode of Only Anns here on Football Therapy. What's going on, gang? How's it going? Welcome on back. I do hope you're doing well. I really do hope that. Today we are talking Chelsea news. It's been an exciting, thrilling weekend of Premier League football. A very, very palatable away win against Crystal Palace for Liam Rosenia's Chelsea. Of course, winning 4 out of his first 5 games in 4 different competitions for Chelsea Football Club, and one of them was only half-time at Arsenal. We might speak a little bit about that as well. Of course, they just lost to Man United at home. Could they do the same to Chelsea to see Rosenia's Blues qualify for the League Cup final? I don't know, maybe, but also many of you may have seen we've recalled Aaron Anselmino from his Borussia Dortmund loan. Very interesting. We'll learn about the ramifications of that. He didn't play much because of injury, but when he did play, he impressed. People are talking about, let's recall Mamadou Sarr, who's playing incredibly well for Strasbourg, just won the AFCON. And of course, for the entirety of this January transfer window, that does bleed into a little bit of February, I believe. Isn't it the 3rd of Feb? I'm not entirely sure. We've been chasing Jérémy Jacquet, who apparently Liverpool and Bayern Munich won, so maybe he is good. We'll try and learn a little bit about that and speak a bit more broadly and loosely about Rosenia's Chelsea. So thanks for joining me in the meantime. A little bit of housework. Do consider supporting the content, dropping a like and subscribing. I know. It's the boring part, the beginning of this video, and you're probably thinking, just wait till this is over. Wait till he stops talking about liking and subscribing. But look, I'm speaking to you now. This is your time. Break through the, I don't have a word for it. But finally, why don't you like and subscribe and hop over to Spotify, 5-star and follow. Just do a little bit of the work. Just think, you know what? I'm feeling good this Monday morning. I'm going to help Jan out with a little bit of admin myself. Like, subscribe, 5-star follow on Spotify. Simply by searching Football Therapy Podcast. Right, let's get into the juice. You got to do the housework early doors, mate. Do you know what I mean? Check this out. So this is from the Ornstein himself. You probably have already seen this. It dropped yesterday late afternoon. Dare I say early evening at 5:27 p.m. Chelsea activate recall option for Aaron Anselmino from Borussia Dortmund. He is a good player. Very highly rated by Chelsea. And the Ornstein writes the following. Chelsea have activated an option to recall Aaron Anselmino from his loan spell at Borussia Dortmund. The 20-year-old moved to Germany back in August on a season-long loan agreement, which included a break clause, which is now being utilised. Chelsea are evaluating the centre-back market, of course, so their first decision has been to exercise a contractual right on Anselmino. He has gained Bundesliga and Champions League experience over there in his first 6 months, however long it is, enabling Chelsea to bring the Argentina youth international back and consider their next steps. Firstly, before we continue, worth mentioning, Ornstein, although I see him as like the highest authority on transfer news, he is absolutely fed information directly from Chelsea. Allegedly? I'm assuming so. This is what everyone says. I've got to be very careful what I say. I'm not saying he's a mouthpiece for Chelsea, and I'm not saying whatever he says is not true, because generally, if Ornstein says it, it's true. But there's a reason when he says things, is what I'm saying. And he said it himself. I really like David Ornstein. I see Fabrizio Romano as a great source. We're about to cite him in a little bit. But he is a little bit of like a content creator. I know I'm a freaking content creator. But there is like this journalistic professionalism, like old school vibe with Ornstein. And I listened to him speak on an Athletic podcast a while ago. And he spoke about, due diligence and choosing your stories and choosing not to do stories and thinking about why are certain clubs, agents, players telling you this, even if it's true? What's their agenda? How does that serve him as a journalist? Like really good, like sort of ethical stuff. And look, Chelsea are probably telling him whatever their plans, and he's going with it. But we've got to like just be lucid, to Wagwan. How many people in history have put lucid in front of Wagwan? So he's got all this experience. So the West London side Chelsea, have the same possibility regarding fellow 20-year-old defender Mamadou Sarr should they want to utilise it. The Senegal international was spending the campaign with Strasbourg. Of course, he's been with Strasbourg for a while. We bought him and then sort of loaned him back. Part of Chelsea's ownership group. All options are being kept open by the Club World Cup winners, Chelsea, in this area of the squad as the winter transfer window enters its final week. But academy graduate Josh Achampong, and this is important because people have been fearful about young, talented, high potential Josh. He's been linked with an exit, Josh Achampong. He's expected to stay at Chelsea, and the sale of the England under-21 defender, who's on 19, is viewed at Stamford Bridge as impossible. C'est pas possible. Josh Achampong can and will not be sold. If you get what I'm saying. I'd be very interested if someone waved 100 million under the sporting director's noses, say from Bayern Munich, and said, "We really like him. Can we have him?" They'd probably say, "Okay, off you go, Josh." Let's break it down, man. I like that Josh is not for sale. Okay, off the bat. Just quickly on the defenders. Mamadou Sarr, I think we would be very cruel to bring him back from Strasbourg right now. Because Strasbourg are doing well. They've just had a nice win away, I believe, in Ligue 1. They beat Lille 4-1 away. 4-1 away. Joaquin Palicelli scoring Blue Co player, which I still don't know if it's owned by Chelsea or Strasbourg. Julio Enciso scoring, and Godot with a brace. A huge away win for Gary O'Neill's Strasbourg in Ligue 1. PSG are finally back on top. Lens lost, terrible scenes. They were always going to win the league, PSG. But, they're in very much the European race. They are 1 point off a European qualification spot currently. And they're 5-6 points off Champions League. I don't know, something like that. But they're doing good. So obviously Omega's joining us in the summer. Mamadou Sarr is only on loan. Mike Pender's in goal is only on loan. I think to recall Mamadou Sarr would be very cruel on them. You can't just constantly keep punching them in the face, mate. Let them finish out the season, try and have a good season, try and qualify for Europe again. Who knows? See what they can do in the Conference League. Of course, Liam Rosenior left them on the top of the Conference League table when he came to Chelsea from Strasbourg, so that's interesting. I'm going to speak a little bit more about other transfers in a moment, but yeah, Aaron Anselmino. Let's have a word on him. So, his debut for Borussia Dortmund, I think he won man of the match. He has been injured quite a lot, I think. I think he's played like a portion of what he's been able to play for Borussia Dortmund this season. So the 20-year-old defender has... so he's got 368 minutes in the Bundesliga, not a lot. He's got 172 in the Champions League, so 2 games in the Champions League, 4 in the Bundesliga, 6 appearances there. He also played in the Pokal as well, the Cup. So he played a few games. It's not much though, man. He has won though 2 man of the matches in 4 games. For Dortmund are a big club, bro. Like Borussia Dortmund are a big club in the Bundesliga that are a top 5 league. He's just got there. He's 20 years old. He's on loan. He played 4 games, and then for those 4 appearances, first 4 appearances on loan, new country, 50% of those he won man of the match. I mean, that's a pretty good going. You'd have to say that is pretty impressive. And look, he is really highly thought of. He seemed like he got lost in the wash with like all these like constant signings. Like people were thinking, oh, is he going to be mixed in with your David Washingtons, with your David Datro Fofanas? And the news, the kind of like briefing all along was like, no. He's like really highly rated. this kid, this defender. I think Maresca really liked him as well. So yeah, it's being utilized. This is from Fabrizio Romano on X as well, as you can see for those of you watching video on YouTube / Spotify video. More business to do for Chelsea in the upcoming days after activating today the recall clause for Aaron Anselmino. Chelsea are involved in the race for Jérémy Jacquet to be signed now, but for the summer, so a pre-agreement. Battle ongoing with Liverpool and Bayern Munich. Extra business could also happen next week. Now look, let's talk about this. For those of you who watch my content closely, you will know I did a statistical comparison video of the guy from Como. Is it Jacobo from Como? Which is very funny. Senesi from Bournemouth and Jérémy Jacquet from Rouen. And Senesi came out on top. But statistically on FB Ref, which by the way is gone now, and I'm very sad about that. Pour one out for FB Ref. Jérémy Jacquet came out on the bottom. You know, I was like, he's this kid, right? How's he? 19? Is he 18? I think he's 18. He's a child, right? And I was so no critique of him really, but I was thinking a little bit like he's the worst one and he's the most expensive. But it turns out, sometimes they know what they're looking at. These man, feels like a lot of the time they don't. But Jacquet. To have Bayern Munich and Liverpool now like battling over a pre-agreement for him to be signed in the summer does kind of say a lot. It does kind of say a lot. It kind of tells me that he is a good player, yeah. And from me just looking at maybe not overly impressive metrics and just people wanting him costing a lot of money. But again, people that know more about younger footballers than me, like more of your football nerds, your tactico saying he's really good. And him wanting to come to Chelsea. Remember, he agreed personal terms, but Rouen did not want to sell him mid-season. If they're having a good campaign, had they agreed to sell him mid-season, they'd want a record fee for him. Chelsea will not prepared to pay a record fee. We were looking at 35 plus add-ons or whatever. They were asking for like flat 65 million euros. There was this idea that Chelsea could sort of meet them. That the player wants to go, that they could structure. Maybe I don't know, theorizing here, making a guess, like maybe like a 42 million plus up to 60 and add-ons, just thinking maybe they could get something done. And then they realized, right, okay, you really want to keep him for the rest of the season, you're having a good campaign, keep him, but let's do a pre-agreement now. We don't want this guy to go any elsewhere. Let us do a pre-agreement so he signs in the summer. We've done this with so many friggin' players before. We've got the amount of players we got arriving in the summer, like your Kenders and stuff anyway. Giovanni Kenders. It's kind of like what they do. So they were like, right, let's do that. But now apparently Bayern Munich and Liverpool have entered the race. Again, Romano, just like Ornstein, will be being fed information from agents and probably the club. So, I don't overly care. I do really like, for right centre-back options, I do really like Fofana and Joshua Champong. For left centre-back options, obviously, we've got Levi Colwill. And maybe, the thing is, maybe Chalobah, Dísasi, and Tosin will go. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they do. And of course, we've got Sarr and Anselmino coming back. So I'm not overly fussed about an 18-year-old centre-back. Look, if truly we are on a race with Bayern Munich and Liverpool and they all really want him and he comes to Chelsea, great. We've obviously won some sort of transfer race there. But if we're not, I will survive. Speaking of the aforementioned Axel Dísasi, why is he still here? Oh, by the way, Ben White might be sold as well. I know he sort of sorted himself out after a horror start at Crystal Palace, but I don't imagine many people would cry for his exit, Ben White. That's just another assumption of mine, but it's an educated guess. So centre-backs in and out. Look, we'll see what happens there. Dísasi is an interesting one because I really thought this guy would have had an exit sorted out now. Chelsea keep briefing how they're really pleased with his attitude. He's obviously trained with the first team now, and he's had good conversations with Liam Rosenior. Fine. There was talks and briefs about how the plan is to sort out Raheem Sterling this month. I already did a couple of videos reacting to that headline. there's absolutely no whiff of an exit imminent regarding Raheem Sterling. And to be honest, like, the one I'm shocked about the most, that nothing's been done yet, or nothing seems to have momentum, is Tyrique George. Because Tyrique George, we had the here we go from Fabrizio Romano of him going to Fulham in the summer. It broke down. There was briefings, there were stories about Chelsea felt bad, how it broke down last minute. Maresca was still integrating him into the side early doors, probably wrongly. I think his head was elsewhere. We were playing him as a striker. It was pretty nasty work. It wasn't looking good on the pitch. But I understand maybe there was this sort of bad feeling and for him, as in not for him, like there was a sentiment towards him and they felt bad. And maybe they were playing them when they shouldn't do. I don't know. Point being, I thought that would have been like in the background because he wasn't really playing. And in recent matchday squads, Tyrique George wasn't even in them. So to me, that was like a huge indicator of, he's got a move in the chamber and this guy's going to pop off. He's going to leave like January the 1st. You might hear my washing machine about to explode in the background. Yeah, man. So I thought like we are sitting here today in the morning of the 26th of January, Monday, and he's like, not imminently out the door. So the fact look, Raheem Sterling I thought was always going to be like a mission impossible. Dísasi I always thought was pretty likely that he'll have loads of European suitors. And for me, Tyrique George was an absolute given that he was going to be sold and sorted out, and that has not happened. Before we talk a little bit more loosely about Chelsea fixtures, forward and form and stuff, there's talk and briefings that we could be signing, a midfielder and an attacker if an opportunity pops up. I seriously doubt that, personally. And, we're looking pretty good, actually. Anselmino being recalled, us trying to do a pre-agreement for Jeremy Jacquet, I think says a lot. I think Liam Rosenior will have a look of Anselmino. He'll be doing some, he'll have a lot of data to look at of a little bit of time. Obviously in Argentina, I guess he came from Chelsea pre-season stuff. His minutes on the pitch for Borussia Dortmund. He already would have been well profiled. Maybe we don't do any business, which seems underwhelming, but dare I say it could be sensible. But do not rule out last gasp late business and drama from Chelsea, because even under this ownership, that's what we do. I know they've gone a little bit more quiet in the January transfer window, but I would not be surprised at all. Right, let's talk about the team's performance. Okay, come on down, Chelsea Football Club. Here we go. This is Google. We're 5th in the Premier League currently, which I believe will qualify us for Champions League football. 4 points clear of 6th, which is nice. And only 2 points off of resurgent Manchester United. Sorry, you can see the points here. In 4th. Very much on for Champions League qualification at time of recording. I wanted to show you these upcoming fixtures here. So, of course, we've got Napoli away, and they need a win. They'll be despo, because if they think they need to win to get into the playoff places. They're massively out of sorts. Lukaku, Conte, narrative, of course. I tell you what, if Liam Rosenior goes to Napoli and wins, that he will deserve a great deal of respect. I said in my match review yesterday that, being dropped into Chelsea in the turbulent times and, trying to pick up the heads of certain players. And these fixtures are very interesting. Because if you win at the Maradona, you win and you're in top 8, massive tick. You've done that. Look at some of the teams that won't finish in the top 8 in the Champions League. For Maresca, he has some really frustrating draws like Karabag and stuff. For Rosinia to come in, pick up, just win his Champions League games to get Chelsea into the top 8, that'd be great. West Ham have been a little bit resurgent under Nuno. We will be at home though. We will be expected to beat West Ham in a London derby fight, fiercely contested. And hopefully we do, because it would be very frustrating if we don't. But you win those 2 games, and I wanted to speak about Arsenal. Because we're a goal behind. Now, I thought by the time we go back to Arsenal, Cole Palmer will be back fit and firing. But the fact that he didn't even feature in the last game is concerning. But these 2 would be massive wins. Napoli away, London derby against West Ham, just always is. You win those 2, and the feeling's up. Arsenal just got beaten convincing. Well, I'd say convincingly at home by United, because Arsenal only scored a set-piece goal a corner and an own goal, which is what they do this season. They're starting to creak. If Chelsea come in feeling good, feeling, positive and high from previous wins and Arsenal creaking, then who knows? You could do a famous turnaround there at the Emirates, where they've been in amazing form this season. Feel good about it. And of course, Wolves, I know they've been in better form, but you go there and win. You could beat Leeds United, you beat Hull City. There is scope there for a winning streak. I mean, look, it won't be a tragedy if we don't qualify for the final in the cup against Arsenal away, a goal down. Yeah, it's, again, I'm sorry. I know you've played really well this season, but Robert Sanchez, that game. Why did you choose that game? Why that game to have a stinker? Anyway, it won't be like, a travesty, but there's scope there for a really positive run of games and beyond, I think. So, fingers crossed that the mood stays good, everyone stays calm, that Stevo keeps being sort of put in the right games and managed well, and then hopefully Cole Palmer can find a bit of form again, because he'll be circling that Emirates game on his calendar to be like, right, this is my game to remind not just Chelsea fans, but everyone that I'm Cole effing Palmer, and it's time. Let me know your thoughts, though. Please do leave them in any and all comment sections across all the streaming platforms like YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Simply search Football Therapy Podcast. Again, guys, really grateful for your support. Keep it locked, and I will see you back here very soon, hopefully. Take care. Peace.